Hello, everybody. So, this is Ahmed, and this is the Breakout. Welcome to another episode. And here with me is Veronika.
Yeah.
Yes. So, with Veronika today, we will be talking about astrology. Yes. So Veronika is our second year student, and she's one of the good students. Yeah. So without without any further ado, so thanks really for coming in today.
Thank you for asking me to be here.
Yes.
It's really nice.
Excellent. All right. So talking about astrology, it's always about this. It's not only me, but when, for example, when we talk about specific these things about the zodiac signs and so on and so forth, people start saying that maybe the people who believe in that are superstitious, and they don't understand, and they are brainwashed. They are too many things because they do not believe in the scientific method or whatever. And also they do not think that astrology is kind of a science. But then the people who believe in astrology, they say no, it is actually a science, and so on and so forth. And then we have this clash in between. But all of this is aside, right? What do you actually think of astrology in general? Where did it start? When did it start? And most importantly, why do you think it actually had this popularity? All right, and yeah.
Well, I think the thing about astrology, it is based on the zodiac. Zodiac is a belt-like part of the sky, and initially it was the same as zodiac constellations. So it all started like in Babylon era with Babylon astrology. Long time ago, people were already fascinated with the stars and how planets occupy certain spaces on the zodiac. It was all about this. But the horoscopic astrology, what we now refer to as astrology, of predictions that planets can somehow influence your personality or can influence something that happens on our planet, everything like this, it appeared much later. It came from Egypt, and yeah, and basically, it still was a long time ago. So people were fascinated with horoscopic astrology for a long time. It was popular for a long time, and these different origins is the first reason. This old origin is the first reason why people somehow dubbed astrology, because this zodiac now is different from how actually constellations are placed. Because when it was initially created, it was a long time ago, and after that the stars partially moved. So now astronomers, they define the placement of constellations differently. There was like a consensus in 1990s, I guess. They clearly put it there on the map, astronomical map. But astrologers, they didn't accept it. Now we have totally different map in astrology and in astronomy concerning the zodiac. Because in astrology, it's like you divide the sky in 12 even parts. Each part is 30 degrees and it's all neat and perfect. But in astronomy, it's much more different. But still, astrology is, in most cases, people don't know about this difference. That, I think, is the first reason for people to believe in astrology and to be fascinated with it, because the basis is seems scientific, because astrology tries to use scientific methods and tries to use astronomical data and tries to use math. That's why it seems so complex and seems realistic for people. And initially, I thought that despite being created so long ago and despite people being fascinated with it so long ago, I thought that it seems like there was a boom when millennials came, and with Gen Z especially, with all this create a natal chart, I will read your future for money, maybe, I will become your life coach based on the stars and everything. But I did small research, and I found out that it wasn't the case that it became super popular with people. It's kind of just more widespread with internet and digital era, because the interesting story I found about in 1970s or 1980s, there's always in newspapers you can find a horoscope for yourself, like a horoscope column. It was always there from like early years of newspapers. And sometimes in 1980s, one newspaper removed from one of their articles this horoscope column. And they thought it will be okay because they change everything all the time. Certain columns were removed, certain were added. It was always okay. But when they removed the horoscope column, they got so many messages and so many calls and so many people who were furious about not getting their horoscope. So the main editor spent the next week sending personal horoscopes for each person and calling each person, telling them their predictions. So it's kind of, people were crazy about it from the beginning.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I remember actually, no, when I was young, we had the calendar. And for example, when then you take it off because of the another day, you always had like a line that is a sentence that speaks to your horoscope, and it always says something, whether it's bad or good, will happen next week. Then I remember totally that when then we then take off the 7 days in order to understand what will happen.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really fun. But I mean, we did it not just because we just wanted to tear down the days, or we didn't, or we were making fun of the entire idea, but actually we made it because we were really interested in knowing these things. And but it's funny right now about these columns in the newspapers that people were maybe upset about that. And actually, I would say that if I don't read a sentence about my horoscope in the calendar or something when I was young, I got very upset. I'm like, where is my horoscope? Why today is not my horoscope day? Why it's my sister's? All right, something like that, really. But what do you think actually what happened with horoscopes later? I mean, after the internet, for example, what do you think happened with the entire idea of astrology actually, with the where the stars are, the position of the stars, predicting the future? I don't know. Right now, we are not talking a lot about psychics, right? We are not talking a lot about people who can read our hands and so on and so forth. The leftovers of the coffee in my cup. Yeah. So yeah. Do you think right now we replaced that with more digital things, or simply digital platforms, or what happened in the whole thing?
Well, it definitely, the whole thing with creating your chart became more accessible, because before people, okay, it's a little bit backstory. My grandmother really liked astrology, and she had this small club of astrologers, and they were creating the natal charts by hand. It means that she had a great library with gigantic books full of at what time each planet was placed. So you just look through all these books, you create this chart, and then you read it. And it takes a lot of effort, so not many people were into that. But with digitalization, you can just Google now. It's like your chart online or something like that. And there will be even the description of what everything means. But if you want something like deeper, more complex, how each planet correlates, you go to astrologers and you pay astrologers. And it's also, this going to astrologer became more accessible because you can call an astrologer, like video chat. It's much more easier. That's why it became more popular, I guess, more accessible for people.
I see right now. And yeah, that's actually true. Is that, for example, also right now, I think 2 years ago, I had my friend sending to me a link to an online test And based on this, and it was kind of like a mood test, as like, what do I feel when this happens, or what do I feel when there is rain? Do I like summer or winter? And do I like this or that, and this and all of that? And then after I simply took the test, a result of the test was sent to me, and then it was talking explanation about too many things, really, whether the future, whether it's the future, whether it's the past or the present, what is gonna happen, everything really. And I was so actually fascinated by the idea that there is such data that can, for example, send these things out after answering these simple questions. Of course, I had with my friend telling her that, well, you know what, it's fun, thanks, but that's it. I mean, it's just fun. And she said to me, really, you don't believe in these things? And she started really to have like a fight with me, saying that I supposed to believe in that. Actually, I believe that this is you. I believe that this will happen to you, or stuff like. I told her, no, I don't think so. All right, they write these general words that can fit in everybody, and then later it will become whatever. Oh, something bad will happen to you next week. Oh, something bad happens to me every day. But yeah, what should I believe right now in what was said in this test result? So yeah, but anyway, but what I'm trying to say is that where can I draw the line, saying, well, that's okay, that's for fun, all right? Or maybe actually you believe that this is not for fun at all, this is real thing, this is the real deal. All right. Yeah. So, but yeah, you tell me anyway. I mean, where can I draw the line between where I say, well, I can give myself to these readings, or simply I'm like, oh yeah, well, I spent a good time trying to understand these things.
Okay, well, personally, I guess I perceive it as a really complex game more than like really real predictions, but I also have like a small argument for maybe believing in all this stuff. But the line is not to make a really important choices based only on astrology, because that's partially what people come for. Usually, the most popular thing right now is to read your personality, to explain your personality. But there are also special charts that are created not even for people, but for like companies, for organizations. And people usually come, the heads of such organizations come to astrologer to ask about important decisions and some important stuff, to get a backup, or maybe to choose not to do it because... So I guess the part about personality is still okay, because it really wouldn't change much. You will maybe learn something new about yourself, whether it's true or not. Maybe you will notice something because of this discussion. But when it comes to something like really, really serious, of course, it's good to, if astrologer says you, yeah, of course, that's a good decision, and you already had reasons for making such a decision. It's just becoming more confident in it. Yeah. But based only on the astrologer's predictions, it's kind of unsafe.
Yeah. You reminded me of this scene in Seinfeld. I mean, it's not a scene, it's just a situation in Seinfeld. There is George, he was at the moment, he was unemployed. And he decided to buy a tour, or simply to buy some sort of vacation package for himself. He's unemployed. So he's going on vacation, all right, and he calls it really a vacation. He's already unemployed, so the entire situation is really funny. But for some reason, something bad happened to him during the day after he bought the tickets to Vermont, I think, and because they live in New York, so. And then he was like, now I don't know whether I should go to this trip or not. And then Jerry Seinfeld telling him like, why are you asking this question? Anyway, he criticized the whole idea, but then Elaine told him, you should come to see my psychic. all right, to decide whether you should go on this trip or not. And then he went to his to the psychic, to her psychic, and in the middle of the whole thing, he's trying to get to understand whether he should go on this trip or not. She told him that there is something bad will happen to him. He decides at the end that he's not gonna go on this trip, and in fact, because he didn't go there, he didn't then later didn't get a job that was actually supposed for him to get in Vermont. All right, so it does just this whole situation is so funny. I mean, the entire episode is really funny, but it just shows that the fact relying on these psychics and all of these readings about the future and so on and so forth, even when it comes to these real these maybe little moments, I mean, these very insignificant, if we can say that, insignificant decisions, it might actually affect us later. And I think that the episode was trying to show this butterfly effect, is that maybe it can start from this small thing to this big thing, that he's unemployed, and then because he didn't want to go to Vermont because of the psychic said don't go, and he didn't go, he didn't get the job, so his life stayed the same, as bad as it was. So, and he became in misery afterwards, and that's why it's funny. But anyway, so that reminded me is that these decisions, okay, I'm not going to take them seriously, all right? So what are actually serious decisions are? I mean, I'm not going, okay, I understand. For example, I will not be like going to read something in astrology or read today's horoscope or whatever, and then I'm not gonna make a decision about my job, for example, based on these readings. But also it might be these little things that might then prevent me from having a very nice or something good or bad. I mean, I'm not saying anything, but you need to experience everything anyway. We're supposed not to, I don't know, avoid anything or escape from something. But it's still, I mean, these insignificant decisions, they might affect us later, right? I don't know. I mean,
So, like, in long term, every decision is a serious decision.
maybe, yeah, by the way, maybe every decision is a serious decision. Yeah.
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 Then I now need to overthink my approach to astrology.
You see, so yeah, but anyway, actually, when you are talking about these, that when astrologers decided that they will create their own chart, and they will create their own map, and they will create their own position of planets and the stars, and for some reason I started to think about the fact that we have been very fascinated, I mean, as simply as I don't know, I mean, humans, as we have been very fascinated with the stars, and for some reason we think that they determine our actions right now. Do you think that astrology has the answer to that? Why do you think that really we believe, we even try to promote and advocate that stars can determine the life that we are having, plus the future that we are about to experience?
I think partially it has to do something with like godlike image of planets and constellations, that despite like denying the gods and maybe not believing in gods, astrology is like part of spirituality. It's also about believing. So maybe because it's something so complex, so distant, we create like a godlike perception of it and think that, okay, something like that definitely can affect me. But also, like, arguments that I heard is about energies, about everything being connected, and so energies influencing each other. But the argument which I actually like, because I can't really come up with anything against it for now, is, for instance, people use an example of quantum entanglement. Quantum mechanics, okay, quantum physics. So we have these two particles that met at a certain point, and then you put them in different parts of universe. You measure one of them, and instantly another one gets information, and you get the result about another one. Yes. But it's like so fast. Yeah. It means that maybe all particles can be connected somehow, and now it makes you think about matrix-like scene about everything being in the matrix, and we can't fully prove it being wrong. Maybe we live in a simulation. Maybe we live in a simulation, and that's why everything can be connected, and stars can be connected with us, something like that.
Wow, actually, I see right now. But in this regard, if we are going to take this about the quantum entanglement, and we are going to have these two particles, and then the atom, for example, because before the two particles are just the two particles, they are like, they are an atom, right? And we split the atom, and then we have the two particles, all right, going away, right? And then they send the information to each other, and then we have these polarizers, whether they are going to be absorbed. One of them will be absorbed, right? And then it sends the information to another one, right? And it tells it and that you are gonna be absorbed as well, right? So in this regard, we are having here this atom, right? So does this then support the idea that we came from stars?
I guess because like if we take the origin of universe as initially it was something really small and all particles were connected, then it's kind of the same situation as when we get just these two entangled particles. So initially we kind of had maybe parts of our atoms had the connections with something that now far away from us, but initially it was like there. It's just expanded.
Wow, I see. So you think, for example, or you are saying is that so we were somewhere connected with an atomic star, cosmic things that are there in our galaxy, or maybe in another galaxy, right? That we were part of, and because of then later we are split, right? Now this other particle is sending to us information in a hidden way, and this energy that we can call it energy, right? And this energy is what making us move in a certain direction, because our other part, right, is moving in this direction, or already moved, right, or already still will move. We don't know. In this regard, in this experiment, right, we don't know whether we are the ones who are sending the information to the other particle, or the other particle is the one who's sending to us the information. But it seems in astrology is that this always the other particle is the one that it sends to us the information, and we are acting based on that, right?
Actually,
that's
right? The weird part.
Yeah, and that's really weird actually. Why? I mean, right now, why are we being the ones who are late then? Really, right? Why are we the one? Because it seems that we are the ones who are living in the past. Compared to the other particle.
Yeah. That's a good thing to this argument. That's why. Yeah.
That's really
interesting. Never thought about it.
I actually never thought also about that. Yeah, that's very interesting. And yeah, all right. And this information is the energy, right?
Yeah, but I don't really like using term energy.
I don't like it as really. Me neither. I don't like it.
It's like in science, it's really complex thing, and you should be careful with it. So I kind of don't like the explanation.
Yeah, it's also because the word, the energy we can, I don't know how I need to feel it, right? I don't know. It's, okay, let's call it information.
Information.
But also I like the idea that it might be that astrology it's after the denial of gods, for example, it's our attempt to have a god-like thing, right? Or creature or whatever.
I also thought about how nowadays you can ironically say that you believe in astrology, so it's easier to be spiritual in this sense, but it's hard to ironically believe in God.
Yeah, actually that.
So
Oh, yeah.
it's kind of, maybe if you want to believe in something and this thing is easier to believe in, you will choose it.
Yeah. Wow. Actually, yes. That is really good point. I think, yeah, maybe it's not even ironically, just not serious enough, right? I'm not just serious enough to say, well, I believe in astrology, but then I'm like, I'm not serious enough, and I'm believing God. I'm like, all right. I mean, it doesn't sound already anything. Yeah, that's actually a very interesting point, because here, then we ask the question, if we can not take the thing that we're supposed to believe in, the thing that's supposed to be higher than us, bigger than us, living in the future, or understands what we're gonna happen to us or whatever, determines our life, right? Can we actually not take it seriously to this in this regard? Can we simply say, well, ironically, I believe in that?
Well, personally, I think that when people say ironically, they just pretend that they're not serious because they're like maybe ashamed to be serious about it or don't want people to take this.
Yeah, it might be like I'm going on to the reading room or whatever, and the people are like, ironically, I believe in this thing, and we're like, oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
we think that you do actually, for real.
Fine. And especially like with astrology, because people, it's not like, the system doesn't seem simple. And if person says ironically and then tells you like everything about you based on chart, and he has all this information in him, and you're like, ironically? Okay.
Yeah, but that's maybe, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I should either refute it, all right, or I simply should accept it.
The information about you, the reading, like
yeah. I mean, the information about me, either refute it or just reject or simply accept it. I'm like, yes, that's me, or simply say, no, this is not me. You don't know anything, and yeah. But sometimes it feels like we are threatened that that much of information about us that might be actually true is known to a strange person.
The problem with the information from charts that I think is that why people take it as something really personal, why people think that it's really about them and it shows something about them, while usually it's like low-key general information. Is the whole reason why people believe in astrology is the concept called Varvara effect or Barnum effect. It's when people take some general information, especially if it's positive information, they take it as something especially for them. And this effect works more if initially the information is based on something personal. For instance, birth date, birth year. And there was this experiment of people being divided in 3 groups. The first group just got the zodiac description based on their months, like when you know your zodiac sign, based on the months you were born, partially. The second group got the predictions, they were told that the predictions were made based on both months, date, and the place where they were born. And the third group, this stuff plus the time, seconds, hours, everything, like the most detailed information. But all 3 groups got the same Barnum text, which is a general text with mostly positive sentences. And depending on how detailed was the initial information, whether it was only months or it was seconds, people believed less or more. So if it's more initial information about you, you will tend to believe more in something that you're told. So that's how it works, basically. And that's why you think that people can think that it's something personal, and maybe people can use it something against me because, of course, it was based on even seconds of my birth.
Yes, of course. Yeah. That's actually very interesting. Should we use that in some courses? In the course evaluation. So that to know about you about more. but that's really interesting. And yeah, I guess, yeah, that is actually interesting. And why is because I remember as I was speaking about this test that my friend sent to me. It really asked these questions that I think nobody would ever ask these questions. And they were questions, some of them were personal in regard that, for example, as if a person is trying to get very close to me. It's like, how do you eat your food? With your right hand or your left hand? I mean, not everybody will notice this. It's only the person who is very interested in my life, right? To know this stuff. And then maybe after I read, because it was really long, um, this is say long result. After I read them, I was like, that is really it's a funny, it's interesting, but of course I refuted it, and it might be because they got to know more a lot of stuff about me. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah.
And also, the moment when I got really disappointed in astrology was when I learned about the change of birth dates that people do sometimes when you're born and you don't know about it, just
Yeah.
for the convenience.
Actually, yes. So, for example, there are people who are, for example, born on the, let's say, 10th of July. All right. But for some reason, they were registered on the 11th or 12th. They have been saying to people that they are born on the 12th, but in fact, it's the 10th. And here, maybe these 2 days are dividing the horoscopic, whatever signs and the zodiac and so on and so forth. All right. And then what happens is that, here what happens actually is all of that is just a lie. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's why that's
Yeah.
like the main argument
Yes,
for
exactly.
people to not believe in astrology, because how can you it's also interesting to create an experiment of person given like a false date to astrologer and checking whether it will be correct or not.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also given maybe this same information to another astrologer, because it would show like it's again about comparison astrologer, whether it's like science or not, because if two different scientists they create like the same experiment, they can come to the same conclusion independent of whether they communicate it or not, because like science shows certain facts and you have to deal with it. But in astrology, if I go with the same chart with the same dates to one astrologer and then to another, will I get the same result?
That's actually very interesting. Yeah, I sent you this debate.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you watch it actually?
Yeah.
Yeah, really? Did you
Yeah.
like it?
I really liked it. I liked the scene about mentioning how people usually characterize Mars as an source of aggressive energy, as something like that, and Venus as something about. Usually, it's about family, romantic relationships, and I really, at this point, I stopped and I'm like, really, why do we do this? Why do we attribute to Mars, which is remotely like a normal, safe planet, all these warlike energies? And it's like the god of the Mars, the god of war, the same scene, the same association. We just skipped it and said, okay, it's like that.
Yeah, and really, I think it has to play with the fact whether we the how, for example, we perceive things. It's up to interpretation. It's always about the colors. It's always about how my mood is in this moment. And yeah, and then when I was watching this debate between these astrologers and the scientists, I was like, yeah, they just try. There was also no consensus between them, by the way. I mean, there is even, they tried to prove something, but they didn't agree on the specific things. And yeah, but yeah, anyway, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I really like the woman who said she kind of agreed with astronomers, but then she called herself like a soft scientist,
Yeah,
and then said that psychology is also soft science.
Yeah. By the way, you need to watch the one about the same playlist, but it's flat earthers.
I
Yeah.
haven't watched, but I've seen it, and I'm like, okay,
That's the
I
best.
need.
I just love it. Yes, highly recommend.
Yeah,
Yes. All right. So that's it.
I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So thank you so much, Veronika,
Thank you.
for being with us, with me
Talking
today.
about stars.
Yeah. Yes. The gods and the stars. Yes. So this was our episode. We talked today with Veronika about astrology. I think it's a very nice topic in order to understand the one type of spirituality and where it is headed and why it is headed in this way. But anyway, if you like our podcasts, like, subscribe, comment. You can write to Veronika to talk more about astrology.
To read your chart.
Yes. Also to read your chart. Yes. And of course, if you have any questions, you can write to us any moment, and we will be happy to answer you. That's it. See you.